want to fuck with the copyright stuff.
Yeah. It seems like that's the only thing they did for the copyright stuff.
Like, no, well, I mean, for like on the YouTube stuff, they just want to make it a fucking nightmare for streamers and whatnot.
Yeah.
They hate us.
I hate streamers.
Hell yeah. Same.
Gussie.
Speaking of that, we're live.
Oh, okay. Hey, Disney hates streamers.
So Disney hates us? Well, actually, they do.
Yes, they do.
They have taken down one of your videos.
And they will take down a future video and probably another video. Who knows?
Probably.
I think the one after that episode also has another song in it.
Oh, good.
Much shorter, but still.
Just got to keep them simple and clean.
That song is in the game, but in an orchestral arrangement. Very pretty.
I look forward to getting the email that says your video has been hit with a copyright strike.
Oh, you'll get several.
Great.
Sweet.
Those are always fun.
I'll try to let you know before they go up.
Great.
I wish there was a thing you could just submit like, hey, yeah, I know. Just don't.
You're like, I'm not out here trying to make money on this, my dude. Just leave,
Also,
let it go in there.
Also, yeah, I don't want it in the game anyway. Like, I didn't need this. You put it here, and you're gonna tell me, oh, you can't have this up. Like, come on.
I'm just here to see who's Norted and who's a nobody. Don't need any of this Disney
Spoilers.
stuff.
I don't want to know who's Norted and who's a nobody.
Wait, so is there a time limit for how long someone can be Norded for? Like, can they only be Norded for like an hour a day?
No, dude.
Once you're Norted, you're
forever.
Norted, right?
Wow.
No, but there is no like arbitrary limit on how long someone is Norded. But also, it's time travel.
It's 358 days over 2 days.
Isn't when you're
Norton
Norted,
period.
Oh.
when you're Norted, no, when you're a nobody, you have to change your name and make your name into an anagram and put an X in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Have you listened to the thingamajig, the Waypoint podcast yet?
Yes. I have listened to.
Tell you about Xenohort.
Spoilers.
It's fucking Xehanort. It's not Xenohort. It's Xehanort. I don't know why no one can fucking say his name. They say it all the time in the fucking games.
Because none of those people have played the games.
Yeah, they didn't play any of the games. They just read about
Fucking amateurs. No, they watch movies, cutscenes, explainers. They just don't know how to say things.
I mean, Rob Zachney, not to throw shade, but he did call ciabatta bread ciabatta bread. Like on a recent episode of Waypoint Radio.
I had like a moment where I was like, wait, what? And I had the exact same like thought as like Patrick and Austin, where it's like, well, he makes a lot of bread.
You're like, wait, have I been pronouncing it wrong?
Yeah, I know. I had that moment, and I was like, "Oh, thank God, Austin Patrick said something."
I mean, those podcast people have had a history of folks who can't pronounce words, notably Will Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, I accept Rob's like, "Oh, I read more than I speak or listen," so like, but that was like a ciabatta. What?
That's very funny. Apparently, somebody at my work was saying that her husband refuses to call quinoa. He calls it quinoa. He says that quinoa is the non-British pronunciation of it.
That's just how you say the word. It's called quinoa.
He said that he met a quinoa farmer and they called it quinoa, and so he's like, well, that's it. It's quinoa. That's the correct pronunciation.
Farmer not know what it's called or how to pronounce the name. It's possible.
Hey, that guy knows more about it than I do.
Quinoa is a character in the best Final Fantasy game, Final Fantasy VIII, which is not coming to the Nintendo Switch this spring, unlike two other Final Fantasy games which bookend it, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy IX. This is Gaming Fix, episode 57, on February 17th, 2019. I am your host, Andre Cole. I am joined today on this Lads Day by Alex Galinas.
I played a real released game today.
Ooh. Pat Cotter.
My javelin has a wonderful ass.
And Sam Harrison.
If I was a nobody, my nobody name would be Xmas.
You said that last time.
Yep.
Shit. I also played an unreleased game today. Kind of, technically.
Wait, early access unreleased?
No. EA access unreleased.
Yeah, he's talking about Anthem, which is out. It's just out. It's just
Not if you own a PS4.
Well,
not if you own anything but a PC.
Yeah, Xbox.
I said what I said.
On Xbox,
Playing it on Xbox right now.
You can only play the 10-hour trial. You can't put extra money down and play the whole game, which you used to be able to with Battlefield and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just in it. I'm interested to see where Alex cuts that intro. Anyway, fuck. Everyone thought like, oh well, Final Fantasy VIII's like 20th birthday or whatever the next year. They'll probably say something around then. That birthday is come and gone. Where the fuck is it?
Square Enix hates that game though.
Where the fuck is it?
They definitely, like, all of the other games around it have at some point in their lifetimes gotten a real re-release that has like had some fanfare attached to it. 8 has never been. It's like,
yeah, and which is appropriate because Square Enix doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
No, I wouldn't argue with you.
They got rid of Hitman. They're just casting Final Fantasy VIII to the side.
Honestly, I would rather play a remade Final Fantasy VIII than Final Fantasy VII, and I actually like Final Fantasy VII more than Final Fantasy VIII. I just think that 8 would be a more interesting game for them to remake.
Yeah, fuck it, god damn it. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Speaking of
fucking Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, was there anything from that Direct that you guys are super psyched about?
Astral Chain.
Fire Emblem.
That Astral Chain looks neat. Fire Emblem's good. I'm excited for there to be a good Zelda game on the Switch finally.
Sure.
Fuck off. I'm excited for the people who have not played Link's Awakening. I don't think I need to play Link's Awakening again. I think that remake, the style is really cool though. So I'm glad they're doing it.
I don't like the way Link looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's a little
Like everything else looks fine. I don't like the way he looks. Weird round head.
The Box Boy thing is cool. I really liked Box Boy many years ago.
Yeah, I
for
want
3DS.
super want to play Box Boy.
Yeah, it was great. And Mario Maker 2 seems cool. I never played the original, so I think as a jumping in point, that'll be pretty strong.
I think it's good for them to finally like just admit it's coming. It's sort of like Fire Emblem. Like that Fire Emblem stuff indeed did look really, really, really good. It's also what I expected from that game to look really, really good. Yeah. So I think that the fact that they have like fully animated cutscenes, like anime style cutscenes, is really neat. I don't know if that was in Path of Radiance or not, or if it's been in any of the 3DS games, but
I can't remember.
That art is super pretty.
That's at least like what was it? Fate? What is the one? Birthright and Fates? Is that the one with the two? I don't know.
Yeah, Fates is the one with the two, I think.
Fates,
Yeah, it has 3 storylines.
Oh, you're right. And it's like
$137 to get
the ultimate centrist, or you can go with like the weird evil people, or like the Japanese people.
There's you can be the Hoshido, who are like they have Ryoma, the dragon like dude with the lightsaber. That's pretty cool. That's Birthright.
Yeah, right. And then Fates is the middle one, right?
No, Fates is the overall name for the thing.
Oh wait, what the fuck's the?
That's Fire Emblem Fates, Birthright. Yeah, Revelation.
Yeah.
Conquest is where you play as the Nor, which has Camilla,
the evil European people.
Anyway, I'm very excited that Fire Emblem Three Kingdoms is a new world and setting for the Fire Emblem series.
Three houses.
It's an interesting one too. It's like you're an ex-militia person that's going into teaching, right?
The way they fucking said that name over and over in that direct sounded like it was like Fire Emblem 3 houses. Fire Emblem the Third. Let's get
Fire Emblem comes to your home.
When you get 4 of them, you can get a hotel.
Fire Emblem Property Brothers.
I really like the way too that they were like, the way that Nintendo talks about delays, because it always makes you feel so much better. Anytime I hear a game is delayed now, I generally just go, well, it's going to be garbage. But the way that Nintendo talks about it is like, we need a little bit more time to make sure that Fire Emblem is the perfect game. So you'll just have to bear with us a little bit here. It's like such like soft language to say like, yo, we couldn't get it done in time.
Get boned. It's coming when it's coming.
But you know what's very exciting from this Nintendo Direct is Smash Brothers is getting a patch.
Nope.
Soon in the spring.
One day soon, you will have to download a patch for Smash Brothers.
As soon as like the music started up for Smash Bros, I was just like, no, not another 20 minutes of Smash Bros in a Direct.
Well, it would have been nice.
I thought it was going to be a new character.
They should have at least said like, for full patch notes, go here. Like,
yeah.
Why even mention it if you're not going to give some kind of a thing?
Yeah. Like, hey, we're going to keep patching this incredibly popular game.
No shit, you are.
Characters. Like, come on. That was so Nintendo Direct. It was, I don't know, it was all right. A lot of like, hey, this is out now, Tetris 99. Allison played some of that, but she was not able to make it today. I feel like, there's some stuff on this GameSpot story just doesn't have that Psychopath game or Astral Chain. I don't know why I said Psychopath.
Because it looks like Psychopath.
Yeah.
I've never played Psychopath. I don't know what that game is.
You should watch Psychopaths. Yeah. It's very good.
There is something else that's not showing up here. Oh, well, it doesn't matter. And then like Assassin's Creed 3 is coming to Switch.
Yeah,
God.
Why?
And it runs like garbage again. Like if Assassin's Creed 3 was playable, I would at least tell people that the world is interesting to explore.
You can
like
throw a big axe into a guy's face.
If it was like $20, I would say as a person who enjoys clearing icons from maps, it is a satisfying icon clearing game. But like everything else about Assassin's Creed 3 is not good. And the worst part about it is that it ran like garbage. So like trying to play it was like painful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
All I remember is that tutorial being like 20 hours long.
They could have put like Assassin's Creed 2 or Brotherhood on the Switch, and that would have been cool. I probably would have bought it again.
The Ezio collection. Just put the Ezio collection on there.
Yeah, I remember I went to PAX East the year before Assassin's Creed 3 came in and went to like their theater demo, and they spent literally, it was like a 15-minute demo. They spent 10 minutes talking about how you could run on the trees.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
This is the best part of this video game is running on trees, and that's what they just focused on, and that's probably the best part of that game.
I was so bummed too because I was so excited for an Assassin's Creed set in the American Revolution because that's such a fascinating time period. And then like the only thing that game succeeds as is it points out that Washington was an asshole, but otherwise like it's the story is not great, and the Desmond stuff is so bad. And I am by far I like Revelations. Like I like the Assassin's Creed games that people don't like. This Liberation, the PSP or Vita game, was actually good, and Assassin's Creed 3 is just crap.
Yeah, I've heard people say really good, positive things about Liberation.
They're not even porting over the multiplayer. Like if they had added the multiplayer, I would probably buy it because the multiplayer got better in later iterations, but it was a really cool and unique multiplayer system. That was like the best part. The other best part about Assassin's Creed 3 was that, and they're not even going to have that in this re-release.
Their trophy implementation for that stuff was terrible, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like you have to do basically everything you possibly can in one game to get one of the trophies. But yeah, that multiplayer stuff was neat. I did think about that the other day. I was like, hey, wait, they just stopped doing Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean,
they stopped with Origins.
I think they took it as far as they could go, frankly. There's only so much.
Really have it in there until Origins?
Maybe.
No,
Black
Syndicate
Flag definitely. Syndicate.
Black Flag did. Actually, Black Flag was technically the last one, I think, because Unity had the co-op stuff, which wasn't great. Even though that game is actually, now that it's playable and not a complete technical mess, it's a pretty good game. But it wasn't in Rogue and it wasn't in Syndicate. So Black Flag was the last one they had it, and I don't believe you can play it anymore. I think they shut this.
Yeah, I imagine so.
It's too bad they didn't make a free-to-play version of that multiplayer though, just to have around. because
100 assassins jump into a city. Actually, that'd be pretty fucking sweet in the Assassin's Creed multiplayer style.
That Flying Blazing Griffin, who did one of my favorite multiplayer games, The Ship, released a game called Murderous Pursuits. That's basically the Assassin's Creed multiplayer, but it was like dead on arrival. Like it sold very little, and now there's like 5 people playing it at any given time.
I mean, you could just play Spy Party and be fine.
Yeah, it's very different though.
Yeah,
like,
it is, but
mechanically, Spy Party's a better game, but
well, Alex, you said I have been on the edge of my seat for like half the week. You've brought a mysterious, newly released game.
I have
to share with us. I would love to know what it is.
So it is a new release from a long-standing franchise. It is a continuation of said franchise, and it makes a lot of meaningful differences to it.
I want to say Metro.
I
think you said you were playing it before Metro came out, so I don't think it's Metro.
So we talked about this in our group chat for, I don't know, like a day or two when some trailers started coming out. And it is the full expansion for Civilization 6.
Oh.
wow.
that reaction.
Oh, I never would have
He
guessed.
just slowly shuts his laptop. Like,
I can't wait to hear what you think about what I brought.
This is a desktop. Just have to
You just slam it over. But
take my camera and take the lens off.
Canada's a civilization.
Yeah, man.
Civilization, you say?
Civilization 6 Gathering Storm. For me, I've played Civilization forever, since like Civ 3. Like I played 3, 4, 5, 6, all when they came out, and most of the expansions, not all of them. So Civilization.
Okay, wait. To set a baseline, what's your favorite?
After expansions, it was probably 5 because it was just the most complete. But vanilla was 4, and then I was actually tied 4 and 6, I would say, because 6, vanilla 6 changed a lot of things and made the game way different because it was more about building your cities in really intelligent ways. Because you had to, in 6, you had to start thinking about districts. You have to start thinking about, okay, this is where I'm going to have a city that is like going to be focused on military, or this one's going to be focused on entertainment or culture or science or whatever. And you can't have every district in every city because it's gated by whatever your population is. So it was much more thinking about it instead of old civs where you're just like, I'm just going to rush Hanging Gardens at the first 20 turns or whatever. So, Gathering Storm, the new expansion, changes 6 in a pretty dramatic way to the point where it feels like a totally new game. Like it could be Civilization 7. It's really cool.
Is this the thing where you're dealing with climate change and stuff? Is that the Gathering Storm bit? Okay.
Yep. There's climate change. There's a whole bunch of stuff. So there's 7 new leaders, which is like a huge amount. The one I played will be pretty obvious. So you got Hungary, you got Inca, you got Sweden, you got the Ottoman Empire, you got England, you got France, and then you got Canada. So I tried around as Canada just to see what it's like. And yeah, it's really, really, really cool. What they did for Laurier, like the way you can use the mechanics now is just really cool. I won't go deep into it because we could dive deep into the mechanics of Civ, but nah. But one of the biggest changes that I really liked is the fact that diplomacy actually matters now. Like when you're playing in a single player game, before it just kind of felt like people were talking at you and, you know, trying to make trades that didn't make any sense. And if you went to them, like it was just pointless. Like it just felt like interacting with the AI didn't mean anything. But now like the AI acts completely intelligently. They're making choices that make sense. They're trying to screw you over and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. And there's also a thing called the World Congress. So like every 25 turns or so, the World Congress meets and then you get a vote on certain issues. And if you notice like, oh, this one player, Gandhi, seems pretty warmongering, like he's building an army, we can have the world vote on whether we should be limiting how much like his army can expand to or something like that. So you can actually have votes between the various players. And I think that would be really interesting in a multiplayer context too, because it does actually change the mechanics. It's saying like, yeah, for 50 turns, like your population can't grow. But because it can't grow, you're getting like 25% bonuses to this other stuff. Like it's really cool. There's lots of changes. There's era scores now. So you know how you go from classical era to like you go to medieval era, industrial, etc. Each one of those eras you're getting scored now, and that is determining golden ages. So you can actually have golden age or dark age. So if like for example, you build a bunch of wonders within the one era, or you like discover a bunch of other civilizations, like you do things that are kind of like achievements, you get points, and if you get above a certain threshold, you get a golden age the next time. And like it's deep mechanics, not going to get into it.
That was the thing they added with the last expansion though.
Yes,
correct.
But they also like way further expanded it. But the dark ages are also really interesting because it puts you at a slight deficit, but it also means that in your government you can establish what are called dark policies, which are like more about screwing over other civilizations and stuff, or like screwing over your own population. Like it's really interesting. I did not enact any. But yeah, like you were saying, Andre, there's a bunch of new systems. There's climate. So like there's climate change. So, well, no, let's go back one system. There's power now. So if you have a power plant, you can have coal, you can have oil, you can have nuclear, and you can have like wind and hydroelectric dams and stuff. And like coal power plants will be just shitting out a whole bunch of pollution into the air. And the more you do that, the more you're screwing over the world's climate. So you can actually have like, oh yeah, we can see that the temperature is rising 3 degrees Celsius, and now the water level is rising. So like, if you have anything on the coast, it's entirely possible that you're going to get flooding, or like these tiles are just going to disappear altogether on the coast. And flooding, like, there's so many cool new systems. Flooding is interesting because if an area floods, once the flood has subsided, those tiles that were affected by it are like, they're now more fertile. So like if you have a farm there, it's going to like produce 25% more because it survived that flood and stuff. Like it's just super nuts how much they've added. There's like tornadoes, so you can get fucked by disasters now. With nuclear power plants, it can have a meltdown and then cover your civilization with nuclear fallout. So it's like you got hit with a nuke, and I ran into that one, and that sucked. And yeah, there's so much. Late game tech is actually good now. Yeah, it's great.
Well, and there's like stuff that seems like it. When I heard my dad's a huge Civilization fan, so he was gushing about this expansion. Mm-hmm. He was saying that like there's stuff that feels like it would be if and when they make a Civ 7, if they don't include it in the base game, it would make no sense. Like volcanoes erupting, and they can cause damage, but then afterwards they create fertile ground that is easier to farm on. Same thing with like floodplains that get flooded and destroy improvements, but then they're easier. They produce more food for a time. That stuff just seems like it makes perfect sense, and it seems like something that should have been in the game for like the last 3 installments when you actually say it out loud.
Yeah, like that's one of the really cool things about it is sometimes with expansions, especially for 4X games, it feels like they're just bolting on new systems to the existing game, and it doesn't like. It might not feel balanced, and it might just feel overwhelming. Like, hey, we're just shoving these new systems in your face. But this one in particular just feels like it feels supernatural.
And especially for a series like Civilization, and this is true of other 4X games too, but it's like Civ 4 hit a certain point where like they couldn't have done anything more to it. It was like so completed. So this happens with like games like The Sims too. When Civ 5 came out, it felt like much less of a game, and there's a certain danger in expansions of them just adding the stuff that was in the last game over time, even if the structure of the game is different. And like this expansion sounds like it does some of that. Like it has the speculative tech that some of the later Civ 4 expansions had. Like I've heard you can get like the death robot and stuff, and that's like, it's cool though that it's stuff that's been in the game before, but on top of this new system that is totally a game changer that the series hasn't seen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I don't think it does not feel like it's going back to the well on anything, which is really nice. It feels completely new and fresh. So I think now with this expansion, like this actually might be my favorite Civ, and I'm really, really interested in trying it multiplayer.
Cool. I've never played a Civilization. I've got Civ 3 from like a Humble Bundle or something, but
that one's hard to go back to.
Yeah,
I bet.
I would say people should just get the most recent one, frankly. Like you could go back to Civ 5. It's a good game too. I mean, they're all great games, but if you have the option, I would say to work on just acquiring Civ 6 stuff.
Yeah. At this point, I'd wholeheartedly recommend this expansion. It's extremely good.
I would say that unless there's a Civilization in the other DLC, like the smaller DLC that you're particularly interested in playing, those faction DLCs that are like $8-10 or whatever are not really that worth it.
Yeah. Like the Aztec
but the big expansions are good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Neat. Well, okay. So Pat, you just have big EA game.
Oh
right?
no.
Oh no.
Oh no, I do not.
Oh right. No, you've got a mystery game. I forgot.
Not as new a release.
I was so taken aback by Alex's playing a regular game that wasn't on a phone. That's dismissive. Just playing a non-phone game because phone games are regular games too.
I have been playing Tents and Trees, but we've already talked about that.
Yeah. I got to the point where now I have to like wait forever to get like coins so I can get to the next level. So that's annoying.
It's a bit lame. But so Pat, what's your trivia for us on this one? I know the answer, so I'm not.
Take us on this journey. Take us on this journey.
So the journey of how I got there will give away what it is, but it's still important to start there. So, also on a strategy bent, I'm a pretty big fan of the Total War series. It's like, I like Civilization a lot. I've tended to enjoy Total War a little bit more. And over the Steam Lunar Sale, I picked up Total War Warhammer 2, which is a phenomenally good game. It's like better than the first one in every way, and if you own the first one, you can play a massive campaign that includes everything from the first game and the second game smashed together. There's a third one coming out in the next year or two that will add the last of the races from the original Warhammer Fantasy universe. Anyway, fantastic game. If people have any interest in Warhammer, they should play it because it's better than playing the tabletop game. But anyway, the other thing that I'm very excited about coming soon is that the Creative Assembly is making a Total War 3 Kingdoms, which is based on Romance of the Three Kingdoms, the ancient Chinese novel. The novel's not ancient, but the story is. So anyway, I was listening to
Yellow Turban Rebellion.
Exactly. That is, in fact, the pre-order DLC.
Actually?
Yes, it is the Yellow Turban Rebellion DLC. So anyway, I was listening to a podcast. There's a great podcast called 3 Moves Ahead that has been around for a long time on the Idle Thumbs network. It's usually hosted by Rob Zachney, and I forget the name of the other host. I'm not a frequent listener, but it's a good show. And Austin Walker was on it recently to talk about Three Kingdoms and Total War 3 Kingdoms. And I decided that I wanted to, one, read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which I quickly realized is not a good play, and two, play Dynasty Wars.
No, what?
Warriors.
No, what? Why?
So, turns out that Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends Definitive Edition came out for the Nintendo Switch in December of last year. So I bought that.
Oh, Andre just looks so disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think Dynasty Warriors is a good game.
How's the Lubu?
The Lubu is excellent. I haven't played a Dynasty Warriors in around 15 years. I played it when I was a kid, co-op with friends. Back then we just played them as like what everyone thinks that series is, and just ran around and mashed buttons and laid out tons of warrior dudes.
Sick combos.
Playing it as an adult, that game actually has more depth than it looks like it has, which I was really surprised at. I don't know enough about the history of the series to know when different things were added, but 8 Extreme Legends has there's a there's the Muso system where you're building meter to do special attacks, but then there's also a rage bar. Whereas you like level up your rage meter, you can go into rage mode, and it's so satisfying because you can build up your rage meter, go into rage mode, and then hold down the A button. And he starts doing like a rage combo that just involves holding down the A button. It's like a 30-second long attack string that begins with like sweeping spear attacks, and then he jumps in the air and like slams down and takes out like a whole battalion of units, and then he starts running around spinning the spear around. Then he jumps in the air.
Sounds like Kingdom Hearts 3. What the fuck?
It's so hilarious, and like you can KO like 500 enemies with it in like one attack string. It's very fun. And actually, like there's a whole like rock paper scissors system in it where you have to use like, it's like Heaven Earth Man, and you have to, when you fight the more powerful commanders, you have to use the right weapon that's attuned the right way to be able to knock them down and do your attack strings on them. So that system is a lot of fun. And what it kind of turns into is like, I started to realize that the random dudes running around are like creeps in a MOBA, and you use them to fill up your resource bars, and then you do your cool shit on the enemy lieutenants and commanders and stuff. And it's, when you view it in that way, it's actually a pretty interesting strategic choice of like where you're going to go to feed, basically, to be able to take on like the harder enemies when at the different objective points, because you can fail. I'm playing it on the normal difficulty, and you can fail in like 5 minutes if you're not careful. And if you don't have the resources to be able to succeed at the objective that it's putting in front of you currently, then you can just get super fucked and not be able to complete it and have to start over. And those levels are actually really long. So it's interesting how much more depth and strategy was in it than I remember from when I was a kid, where we would just run around and probably lose most of the missions. And then that definitive edition on Switch is like a phenomenally good port. It does not look amazing, but it's like, it has every DLC that they put out for that game. It's got like 600 costumes or something like that. There's like close to 1,000 different weapons, I think. It has like,
I don't think there are 1,000 different weapons in the real world.
Well, I mean, there's like 200 different swords, you know, like it's, we're not talking.
I don't think there are 200 different swords in real.
And they all have different like little quirky things about them too. Like I've been using a flail, and the flail on strong attack 3, 5, and 6, if you rotate the analog stick, the flail spins and you do more damage. It's like wild little like touches to every single weapon that give it slight mechanical differences that are actually like noticeable and interesting. And on top of all that, so you play the story mode, character progression is like works across all modes. So you can play like Lubu in 4 free play levels, and then the levels that you gain will carry over to story mode. So basically you play everyone's story mode, of which there are like, even though there's like 30 characters, there's only like 6 or 8 story modes. It's mostly just
6 or 8 story modes.
I can't remember for sure. It's like, it might even only be 4 or 5. But anyway, you can kind of assume different characters as you play through each of those stories. Lubu's is really the only one where you're kind of playing him the whole time, which is the one I started with. And he's an asshole. It's once you finish the story modes, there's a whole set of challenges that you can do that are all like pretty tough and short. But then there's this whole ambition mode also, where you basically go on procedurally generated battles over and over and over again with different characters, and you level them up and you level your base up. And this is like, you can play this mode for like hundreds of hours. And then eventually like the Emperor shows up and gives you his sword, which is apparently not a very good weapon from what I was reading, but like that's sort of the end game. And then the difficulty ramps up, and you can just play it at a super hard difficulty forever if you want to.
Like so, an endless mode, or like you just keep doing like the missions, or is it like one endless level?
No. You keep doing the missions, but they're very hard, I guess. So like
Lubu against every person who has ever lived in the history of the world.
Yeah. It's just really interesting. And then on top of that, like I also started listening to a podcast called 3 Kingdoms Podcast. That's very good. It concluded a few years ago, but a gentleman from China set out to do this podcast because he talks about in the intro episode how reading Romance of the Three Kingdoms is really boring if you're from the West because you don't have any context for anything. So like you don't know who Cao Cao is and stuff, unless you play Dynasty Warriors. But even I haven't played it enough to know who these people are really. So when you read Romance of the Three Kingdoms, it's sort of told from it's written from the perspective of someone who knows who all these characters are already. And if you grow up in China, you know who they are because they're major historical figures. It's like knowing who Lincoln and Washington are if you're American. Sure. And so he set out to he was talking about how, like, for him, when he was growing up, reading Romance of the Three Kingdoms was like reading Game of Thrones. It's incredibly compelling and interesting, but without any of that context, it's really dry and boring for an American to read or a Westerner to read. So this podcast sort of retells the story of the novel and gives you context for who those people are. And he does a good job of making it interesting and exciting to listen to. So listening to that alongside playing Dynasty Warriors is really interesting because you can see where the game takes even more liberty than the novel does. And I don't know. I have a new respect for that series that I didn't have before. I think it's fun and I get it more now.
Does this mean you're going to play like Fire Emblem Warriors and Zelda Hyrule Warriors?
I mean, those were games that I wanted to eventually. Right. I eventually wanted to play those games anyway, because they look interesting to me. But I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Do you think this ends with you getting really deep into Earth Defense Force?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I really want to like Earth Defense Force. Is that also a Mega Force that makes those games?
I'm not sure, honestly.
No, I don't think it is. I the concept of Earth Defense Force is very appealing to me, but there's something about the way the giant ants look that is a huge turnoff. I don't know what it is.
Something about the way the huge ants looks that is a real turn on for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we were all excited
by Earth Defense Force. I just never have.
Anyway, I don't have too much deeper thoughts about Dynasty Warriors. I just think it's a really good. The Switch version is really good. It makes some visual sacrifices. It definitely looks like a PS3 game, if not a PS2 game at times, but it runs at 60 frames per second docked and in handheld mode, which is really what matters.
For those games, yeah.
So is it a compelling thing to sit down for like 3 hours with, or is it better for just sitting down for like half an hour to 45 minutes and then being done with it?
That's how I've played it, is sitting down for like half hour, 45 minutes. Usually like I've used it as kind of a like, if I don't have time to dive into The Witcher before bed or whatever, because I've been playing a lot of Apex still too. So I'll play Apex until like 9:30, 10 o'clock ish and go, well, I'm not quite ready for bed. And then like play a level of Dynasty Warriors. But cool. I could see if you had a clear goal in mind for what you, wanted to like achieve with the session. Like I want to finish this story or I want to get this character to this level. I can see how it would be fun to play it for a longer stretch of time. Because like I said, once you start thinking of it as I need to use these creeps, to use a MOBA term, to feed and get resources to be able to take on these larger enemies, it's more interesting than just button mashing. And then also there are combo systems in it. So it's simpler than a fighting game, but you are doing different button combinations. If you just mash the same button over and over again, you're not going to do well. You do have to like kind of change it up and use parries and things like that and switch up your attacks. And you carry two weapons, the character's like main weapon and then a side weapon. So switching between the weapons lets you continue combos. So you can do like a 10-hit combo with your spear, switch over to your flail, do another 5 hits, and then switch back to your spear. And so it's kind of cool to try to get the largest combo you can get going too. So I don't know. I could definitely see people sitting and playing it for longer periods of time.
Cool.
Some say Lu Bu is still doing that attack string to this day.
Oh God. And I mean, I can't really stress enough that the character, like the drama between the characters is so good. It's really, really, really good. Like I didn't know for the longest time until earlier this week that when they talk about Unix in Chinese history,
they mean like
code, Unix,
right?
Huh?
Oh, you mean like the code Unix?
Yeah, like I know Unix.
No.
I'm gonna go into Jurassic Park.
I mean, eunuch is in someone who has been like castrated.
Hold on to your butts.
like I did not know that like Unix in China who were castrated, like they had a lot of political power because they couldn't have children, and so emperors trusted them in ways that they wouldn't trust other people. I didn't know about that. I
saw Game of Thrones.
It's like the Dynasty Warriors is real wild. There's like a moment where I beat another character and they yelled, "Why did I ever become a eunuch?" And like, I don't want to make light of that horrible practice, but like,
I mean, he said, "Why did I become a eunuch?"
No, and in Chinese history, in many cases, people did it to themselves to gain political power. It wasn't. Wow. It wasn't just. There were definitely people who it was done as a punishment, and that's horrible. But there were people who did it to themselves to become politicians.
Well, now we have a podcast title. Thank you for that.
There's one guy you beat up, and he just goes on this like 30-second monologue about how he's like gonna find you again someday, and he's gonna make his house proud and stuff, and like he's gonna beat you, and he's just kind of like little wimpy guy, and Lu Bu just like gives him a look and then rides away. It's good. Some of that, there's some good drama in there.
Okay, well, thank you for that, and congratulations on achieving the impossible and getting that Apex Legends win.
Yeah, congrats. I still haven't done it.
Yeah,
came second in my first game.
It was funny too, because we had a hard time getting wins for a while, and then my buddy and I were playing last night, and granted we did have a pretty good teammate, but really like it was like just another game. I didn't even really get that tense at the end because we were in such a good position. I just looked up and noticed there were only 2 squads left, and they had to come into the circle, and I had a Mastiff, and I was just posted up in a house, and then my buddy and the other guy, the random guy, were across the street in another house, and he was caustic, so he had laid gas everywhere.
Hell yeah.
I was like, there's no way we lose this, really. Like this is, they are coming in from out of the circle already damaged. And so I just started popping them with the Mastiff and knocked the shields off of all 3 of them, and then they started dying and like trying to res, but it was a good game. It felt good to win one, and I definitely feel like I'm improving at that game over time, and that's really exciting.
One could say Apex Legends is a good game.
After finding out that you stop getting loot boxes, that like made me go, maybe I should wait until they put more loot in, because I'm not like crazy about what's in there.
They will have the new battle pass is supposed to launch in like 2 weeks, so
maybe
I mean, I would argue if your thrust is watching numbers go up and getting loot, it may not ever be the right. I'm not necessarily accusing you of that, but anyone listening who that's their thing is maybe should just buy Titanfall too, because
literally it's just that they'll stop giving you loot boxes. Like, I don't care if it's like every other level or whatever, or if they had dupes at some point, because obviously, like, eventually you get everything there is to get, but because they don't do dupes. But
it's definitely, I mean, really the way that game is monetized is pretty unfortunate in a lot of ways, because like getting the characters is totally reasonable. It's not that expensive. And even if you were to buy them, and it actually doesn't take that much playtime to grind them out. Like, I have enough for a character. You could definitely unlock both of the characters in the time between when that game came out and when the next one will come out. And so that part's fine. It's not like it's unfair from a gameplay perspective at all, but I'm sitting on like 1,800 Apex coins. I bought a couple of loot boxes because I was like, what else am I going to do with this? But I got those coins from buying the Founders Pack. I had already gotten the 2 characters. I have nothing to spend legend points on now, because you can't buy the legend point skins in the store unless you also buy the paid skins that they're attached to. There's nothing to spend legend points on.
They were just alternate.
No, you have to buy. That's why there's the little lock icon, because you have to buy the skin it's attached to. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's
so lame, that game is like I haven't played a competitive shooter that has grabbed me this much since like at least the launch of Overwatch, if not earlier than that, because I think I like it more than Overwatch. So like I'm head over heels for this game, but it is definitely like I'm not spending $20 on a skin, And
Yeah.
the ways in which they let you spend currency on things, like they should let you buy loot boxes with those legend points, even if they're really expensive.
I imagine they'll, like I imagine like adjust things because like, this game was pretty secretive up until launch.
Yeah.
And so I imagine they'll adjust that. And also maybe you can buy a battle pass with those coins.
That'd be really
Definitely.
cool.
Yeah. I'm holding on to the rest of the coins to buy the new character when it drops, and to buy the no pun intended, and to buy the battle pass when it comes out. Because I'll be in on that stuff. And I'm sure the battle pass will be cool. I would like to see them add character levels and weapon levels.
That might be nice. I mean, that you kind of get that with like the tracker stuff that you can put on your banner card, but yeah.
But a level that would unlock like I think they could overhaul the cosmetic crafting system so that you're getting points for each specific character and weapon. So like in addition to generic crafting materials or whatever, there could be a little number that you could use to unlock stuff by leveling up those specific things. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I also spent $150 on Overwatch loot boxes during my time with that game. So
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. I would just buy like the 50 pack when they did like the seasonal stuff. I'm like, want this.
That's fair. I don't know. I'm interested in seeing how that game evolves. Like right now, it's in a really strong.
I hope it doesn't evolve. That game. Fine.
Did you see the post they made yesterday? Actually, that was like addressing a whole bunch of stuff.
No, I didn't. But they've been pretty transparent. So
yeah, I'll link it in the description of this podcast.
But let's see. Do we want to talk about my game or the game that three of us have been playing? Or you have a game too, Sam, right? That only you have played? No? Okay. You mentioned a game before, but I don't know. What do we want to talk about?
Why don't you talk about your thing, and then we can
and then we can close out with the multi-person. That's tend to be how we do things anyways. Usually close out with the big game. I finally got around to playing Resident Evil 2. One of my most anticipated games of this year, that and Kingdom Hearts 3. It is a better game than Kingdom Hearts 3. It feels like a modern game, but also incredibly faithful to that original Resident Evil 2, which, you can go anywhere and you can hear that take. But everyone was talking about how great Mr. X is in this game, and like how he's like so terrifying, and he's just annoying. He's a pain in the ass. He doesn't, so you can't kill Mr. X. Mr. X, at a point in the game, he shows up, and then he is following you, or like, stalking you basically around the police station from that point forward, until a point later in the game where he is disposed of. And you can hear him stomping around. I don't know if it's like my headphones or the audio mix or what, but it's really hard to tell exactly where he's like stomping around, if he's like above me or in like the hallway next to me or in a room across from me or whatever. Hard to figure out where he is. And what Mr. X does is he just like walks into a room where you are, looks at you, and then power walks towards you.
Uh-huh.
He will never catch you if you keep moving, and if you keep running and going through rooms, and then eventually like you get far enough away that you can like kind of hide or get to like a safe room, and he won't go into like any of the safe rooms, which is nice, because then he can't kill you, and then he'll just walk away like he doesn't know where you are, which is okay, fine. But like the thing that really killed it for me was there's a part where you have to go into like the library, and he was just like basically hanging out in the library. He wouldn't leave. It's like he knew I was supposed to be there for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. So I was like I was like, okay, I'm gonna like be loud over here, and I'm gonna run away and like be quiet and like sneak around, go up around the long way. I walk into the attic, which is right next to the library, and as I walk, I get to the door, and the motherfucker opens the door and is standing right in front of me. I'm like, what the fuck? I have to turn around and run away. I'm like, and it just became like this big tedious thing. And And then so to finally get around all that, I just had to like Benny Hill my way around the library and move these bookcases while he was like walking down the stairs, and I climb up the ladder, and then he climbs up the ladder, but I'm running down the stairs while he climbs up the ladder, and then I move the bookcase, and the whole process repeats. And that was just, it felt like I see what they're doing. Like I appreciate it. I think they did it better in Resident Evil 7. There's a sequence at like the beginning of the game where the daddy is chasing you around the house, and I feel like that was just
why I haven't played that game.
It's much better. It's done much better than I think the Mr. X stuff in this is.
Yeah. Like to me, it kind of sounds like. Did you ever play Amnesia or Soma?
Yes. Like, I played Amnesia. I played most of Soma.
So with Amnesia, like at some point you start to realize the mechanics of the monster, and he becomes like nowhere near as scary. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it sounds like with Mr. X. You're like, oh, also, I understand your mechanics. You're no longer really terrifying.
Yeah. It's mainly just like, he hits you and he does a lot of damage. With Amnesia, at least, there's like part of it is like, you don't know where you're going really, or like, you've got to get somewhere, and then you have to like manage like your light and the sanity stuff. You don't have to, and there aren't safe places in Amnesia, right? I don't remember, but
there are a few, but they're not entirely safe, but
yeah. So they're like, and like I said, you can just run into like a safe room and hide, and then. So I beat the first playthrough, and like I had fun. I enjoyed my time with it. So I was like, okay, I'll start the second playthrough. I played as Claire the first time, and then so I started the Leon B scenario, which is supposed to take place at the same time as like the A scenario, but you're solving a lot of the same puzzles. And like some of the things that like happen in Claire's playthrough, which would be resolved by the time Leon gets in or whatever into the police station. I don't know. There's stuff that doesn't make sense. But anyway, the B playthrough is fucked.
Just like super hard, or?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, for me at least, like Mr. X shows up way earlier, and the point I'm at, like I have to walk by a bunch of lickers, and if you are familiar with Resident Evil 2, the lickers are these like skinned humans with like exposed brains, with big tongues, and they kind of like crawl around on like ceilings and walls and stuff. And in Resident Evil 2, they're blind. In the remake, they're blind, so you can sneak by them if you walk very slowly and like don't make any noise. But then you're like, oh, okay, Mr. X is gone. I'm just gonna walk out into this hall nice and slow because there's a licker right outside the door and it won't move for some reason. And then Mr. X opens the door across the hall. You're like, shit, he sees me. I buy this liquor, and like the room I got to go to is in another hallway. That's like 3 zombies and a liquor. Yeah, it's just all bad, man. It's all a bad scene. And the zombies great. The zombies can bust down doors. So like you're never really safe from a zombie unless you're in a safe room. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, but it's fun. But like, I don't know, the Mr. X stuff I think could have been done better.
Sure. Do you think, 2 things. Do you think it's better than original Resident Evil 2? And how does it stack up to Resident Evil 7 for you?
I have to play it some more. Like I want to finish the B stuff, go through the Leon campaign and stuff. It's very faithful to those original games with like, some some altered story stuff, I guess. It's been a while since I played Resident Evil 2, and I never did like the B scenario playthrough, so I didn't even know Mr. X was a thing because he wasn't in like the A scenarios in Resident Evil 2. He's got a stupid hat. God.
Yeah, stupid fedora thing.
Have any of you seen the I saw a video that did the Phil Collins thing, like the of him coming through the door. So like you could hear In the Air Tonight playing, and then like after the drum, when the drums happen, and then Mr. X bursts through the door, and it's just like blown out volume of the chorus In the Air Tonight. Very funny. That meme came and went in a very quick fashion because it was very funny at first. It quickly got not funny, but that one is very funny. Still.
I wish he was better and not just like I don't even want because you can like stun him if you shoot him a bunch. I've shot him once and you get an achievement for shooting off his hat.
Yep.
But like I was like waiting in a room. I was like incredibly silent, and he just walks into the hallway and busts into the room I'm in. And I'm like, how did you know I was here? And so he does that sometimes and it just doesn't feel fair or like he'll walk into a room and know you're there, even though he usually needs line of sight. But I'm like hiding behind like a wall and he's like, oh, I know where you are. And it's just like, why? Why do you know? Who told you?
What did you think of that very self-aware Capcom tweet?
Oh, that was very good.
Yeah.
So people have modded, for those who don't know, people have modded the PC version to include, to change the music that plays when Mr. X sees you with like, what is it? What song is it?
Isn't X going to give it to you?
Yeah, X going to give it to you. And so Capcom put out a tweet announcing that they put in original costumes for Claire and Leon from like that look like the PS2 versions, but like up-resed. That started knock knock, open up the door, it's real, which is very good.
That's very funny.
That is good social media from a company.
From Capcom.
Yeah, Capcom's killing it. They've been doing a good job recently. Monster Hunter World, Resident Evil 7, No Beautiful Joe 2. Where the fuck is it?
No one needs that.
Yes, they do. Yeah, but that was before Resident Evil 7, and that was old Capcom. This is new Capcom. So the rumor is they're already working on Resident Evil 3, but also there's someone saying like if the fans demand it. So who knows? And then also probably a Resident Evil 8 is also in the works. I imagine we see that before we see Resident Evil 2. I think when they say Resident Evil 3 is in the works, I think they mean, hey, we're like pre-production.
Do you think that and I haven't played 7 and I do want to someday, so don't spoil the ending of it, but
sure.
Do you think that Resident Evil 8 will take on the kind of tone that 7 has, or do you think it'll go back to a more like goofier look, like kind of like what Resident Evil 6 was?
I don't think they go back to the Resident Evil 6 stuff after the reception of 6. Like 6 sold a lot. I think just recently, like sales wise and stuff, financially, 7 finally overtook 6 in sales.
I guess I mean more so like the tone and less obviously 6 was also not particularly enjoyable. Like from what I've heard, it's not very good from a gameplay perspective either. So like assuming that they stick with the magic they found with 7.
I think they stick with like 2 and 7 are very similar. Like 7 is a return to form for the series, like a return to like the 1 through like Veronica era, and like a little bit of 4. But
7 is pretty.
It's a little more.
It's pretty boisterous though. Like
towards the end, like at the beginning, it's
and I guess that's kind of,
and like the last act, it kind of falls apart. It just becomes like a bad shooter, kind of.
I don't really know I've managed to avoid finding out where it ultimately goes. I've seen everything up until you're in the basement fighting the monsters in the basement.
Sure.
So I know it goes weirder places than that as it goes on. I think it's hard for me because it's the horror aesthetic that I have the most trouble with getting through, but I really appreciate the kind of like the kind of people in the middle of nowhere that are, Texas Chainsaw kind of scary stuff. That is an extremely effective brand and aesthetic of horror. So I think it would be, I know it gets away from that as the game progresses, but I think it's interesting that's what they chose to go with. And I would be interested to see more AAA takes on that kind of more dark, serious horror.
For me, it's not even like the setting of the game. Like I can totally understand why people find that like very effective. Like Austin Walker talked about like how he finds that kind of stuff like incredibly unsettling. But for me, like that isn't like a super effective form of horror, but I think that game, just like the overall aesthetic and the way it's executed, worked extremely well. And I think like the zombies and lickers by themselves in Resident Evil 2, I think are effective enough as like causing trouble, because they're real hard to dodge sometimes, especially in those like cramped corridors, like because you don't have the freedom of movement that you'd like. Like in Resident Evil 7, it's a first-person game, so you can just kind of move exactly how you want. But there's a little bit of a, since this is like third person, it's pretty stiff for like a modern game, I'd say. Like you kind of have like a big turn radius, which is interesting, and like you have like a quick turnaround. But like it's not easy to bob and weave, and like the zombies are quicker than you'd like at times. So getting around them is not always the easiest thing. I'm finally starting to get a handle on that, but it's, you know, like when you've got 3 zombies in front of you and a licker, and so you're like, okay, well, how am I going to get around this? I don't want to like run because my shotgun can't kill the licker fast enough. But also I got 3 zombies and I can't just like waltz or like, you know, stride through here, stroll through here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it puts some interesting challenges in the way, and I'd like to try my hand at learning to speedrun the game if I can beat this fucking scenario. But we'll see about that.
Very cool.
Yeah. So that's Resident Evil 2. They put out some DLC for it, which I want to do, which is like side stories, like non-Claire or Leon stories. There's like the gun shop owner from Resident Evil 2 is like a story. The police chief's daughter or something.
Like stories where you play as them?
Yeah, you play as them. They're like short little like.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they're really good at DLC with these games.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I want to check that out.
Speaking of desiccated corpses being brought back to life.
Is that BioWare?
Yeah, that was the joke.
Okay. Sam, tell us all about
all about Destiny.
Please do not
tell us all about Anthem.
We've already been going for 45 minutes.
Anthem. Dan them.
Okay, so there's 3 character classes: the Warlock, Titan, Hunter.
Here we go.
God damn it.
Nathan Fillion is there.
He's not anymore.
Not anymore.
He's there in my dreams.
Yeah.
And in any mission that his character's voice lines were in, even though he's dead.
And Nolan North.
Yeah. Nolan North.
Replacing
and a wizard that came from the moon.
Yeah.
Nolan North's Nathan Fillion impression is so good they never needed to hire Nathan Fillion in the first place.
I know. I don't. It is funny to me that they.
Wait, is that who did Cade in the?
For Fillion.
But Nolan North can sound exactly like Nathan Fillion.
He also became the Ghost, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's why I was confused. I thought you were saying Nathan Fillion instead of Peter Dinklage, and I was like, what are you talking about?
Because the whole joke when the Uncharted movie was going to be a thing, and they cast Mark Wahlberg in it, which that movie will never come out.
It's currently starring Tom Holland.
Oh yeah, right. It's changed all around, but they should have cast. They should have cast Nolan North, but then when that wasn't going to happen, people lobbied for them to cast Nathan Fillion because they're like the same person.
Sure.
I would see a Tom Cruise Nathan Drake movie.
No, I would not.
I would see a Steve Buscemi one.
Retired Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi could play Sully.
Oh, that would be good.
I mean,
Ron
actually should play Sully is what's his name? I'm just brain farting.
This has gone off the rails.
So the Anthem of Creation.
Bruce Campbell should play Sully. Steve
Buscemi is the Anthem of Creation.
So Anthem is a loot shooter made by BioWare. I'm going to say right now up front that the genre and the way that you play that game are completely at odds with the BioWare storytelling method, to the point where I find that I care absolutely nothing about any of the characters, because I'm like, I would like to play this game,
That's
not
interesting.
walk around and talk to people.
That's very interesting. Do you want to talk about that now, or do you want to continue to give the overview and we can come back to it? Because I have
I
thoughts
don't
on
think
it.
we need to give the overview. Everybody knows what Anthem is.
Okay.
Sure.
We've talked about it a few times on this podcast.
It's a Iron Man, also Destiny game.
Yeah. Fucking. There was. Okay, I don't know what we want to talk about first.
I cannot believe that this video game got made by BioWare and released by EA.
Can I ask a question as a longtime BioWare fan and a loot shooter fan?
Yes.
Don't bother buying this game.
Okay. I was going to ask if any of this BioWare story character kind of stuff, other than the codex, like if the story is interesting enough to play through as a solo player.
Well,
I've been playing it solo. I can name 2 characters in the game. I think that I don't know, maybe it's better on PC, but you're talking about the facial animations being great and they're all terrible. The majority of the characters on Xbox just stare into the middle distance.
So there's very clearly it's like Gran Turismo. There's very clearly the premium characters and then the not so premium characters. Owen's facial animations are spectacular, but all of the tertiary characters that you talk to around they do that. So when I made that comment, it was because I was in a specific sequence with Owen where I noticed it.
There's some stuff with Haluk at the very beginning.
Yes, but, he's very good.
Oh no!
I was having a conversation with the bar owner. I was having a conversation with the bar owner, and she was talking about something, and she was looking at me, and she's looked away and just stared off into the distance, she was reliving some horrific moment, and she looked back at me. It's wow, you've seen some shit.
I gotta say, I can see why you would feel that way, Sam, but I kind of feel the opposite in that I actually really dig the characters, and I like the writing and the voice acting quite a lot. There's certainly characters that are better than others, but I feel like it has a lot of personality, and I actually am not going to make Destiny comparisons because I think that the fact that there's guns that have colors on them and that the power level goes up is kind of the only similarity to Destiny, and that you shoot things.
Yeah.
You want discrete missions.
Yeah, but they're so much more discrete than they are in Destiny, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. They're like Monster Hunter missions.
Destiny I know structurally they're almost the same, but Destiny feels like it flows in a way because of the way that you open a menu, but you're you warp up to your ship, and then the loading screen is your ship flying to the next thing and then landing. It feels very much like it flows from what am I going to do to doing the thing in a very different way than Anthem. And I actually kind of love the way that Anthem does it, even though I think that most people are going to hate it, or at least not like it as much as Destiny, because Anthem in a weird way almost feels more like a mech warrior game to me than it does Destiny, because you spend so much time in between missions walking around the fort, talking to NPCs, lovingly making changes to your javelin, and then when you go to do a mission, it's selected on a map, set all of the menu options, set your consumables that you're going to use that mission, and then when you hit go, you are going into the mission at that point, and it's such a break. I think part of it is because it feels so different to walk around Fort Tarsis than it does to control your javelin, but I think it's totally wild that they got away with the structure of the game being what it is, and that EA didn't tear it apart, because it's structured like a 90s game in a lot of ways.
It plays it's structured like Monster Hunter. So you go back to your insular world, which has all the stuff and all the plot progression, all the plot, all the progression, and items and gear are all done in HQ. Well, and then you go out on your expeditions.
There's some story stuff that happens out on the expeditions, but only in the core missions. I don't know how many you've played, but there is, and I'm not as far as Andre, but I just did one that has what is his name? The bad guy. I've only seen him a couple.
The Monitor.
The Monitor. There's stuff with the Monitor that happens in the mission where there's a cutscene and he talks to you and does stuff. So
wow, just rinse the DC universe for character names. Okay.
I think that's the thing that's interesting to me, and why I can't argue that the narrative is particularly present even yet. But the world is so fascinating, and like it's just a very interesting setting because it's so mysterious, but it doesn't feel like it still feels like a place. And I really find that interesting. And I don't know, part of that's maybe the codex stuff, but it's cool the way that the world's rules work and everything, the Anthem of Creation and the cortexes and stuff.
It like reminds me, the world reminds me of Horizon Zero Dawn in a lot of ways. But because it's not a story-based game, like I'm not going to get it because I don't want to sit there and read the codex. Like that's not what I come to games for. So I'm not going to get like the story dumps really, aside from like the occasional long cutscene where they're like, oh well, when 2 years ago or whatever, when the Dominion attacked and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get the story dumps, and let me tell you, can't recommend it.
I like reading codex entries, so I think that stuff works pretty well for me. And it's weird. I don't know. Like, I also think from a more negative standpoint, I think that this game is maybe a terrible multiplayer game. Like every time I've played, every time I've played it multiplayer, it's even after I moved it over to my SSD so I could get faster load times, it's just been not fun because it turns into like everyone goes to the mission area, spreads out, and you have to fight to be able to kill anything because people kill it so fast.
What difficulty are you playing on?
On normal. I'm sure on hard.
So it's so much better on hard. If you're going to do multiplayer, put it on hard because it actually becomes like a challenge, I guess. Like if you're playing on normal, you just decimate everything incredibly quickly. On hard, you actually have to like think about and like utilize your skills in a meaningful way, which you have to do if you play solo on normal.
So that's the thing is I think I should try it on hard, and I will, but I think I'd like it more as a solo game on normal than I maybe even would as a hard game with multiple people, because when you play it on normal solo, you actually have to like, when I got through the last mission, there was a point where I was almost completely out of ammo for both of my weapons. And it didn't feel frustrating. It felt like satisfying that I had like managed to win this fight and against this elite enemy and stuff. And I don't know, it felt good. I used all the tools that I have equipped. I'm playing as the interceptor, the like fast Genji class. And honestly, it plays more like a character action game that way than it does like a Destiny style shooter. I'm flipping over enemies. I'm dropping in to do melee attacks, and then I'm throwing my E ability, and then I'm popping off a couple of shots. And then I'm using
keyboard and mouse to play this.
Absolutely.
Oh, weird. Oh
yeah, it's great on keyboard and mouse.
I heard the demo, like the controls were not good.
No, it's fine.
I've been using controller the whole time.
No, I'm enjoying it with keyboard and mouse. It's made it I can do stuff like I can double jump, do a flip, and then like kill 2 enemies before I hit the ground, because I can aim really precisely that way. So I'd say it's great. The gameplay part of it is awesome. It's basically, I've always had a hard time getting into Warframe because I feel like Warframe is like, I don't know, floaty is maybe the word. There's something about the way that Warframe controls that just it's not tight enough for me, I don't think. And like Anthem is like that, except it nails that stuff.
You feel heavy in Anthem, which you should. You're in a giant robot suit.
So that stuff is very cool. But at the same time, like I said, I have not had fun playing with other people yet. I do think it's cool the way that different Javelin classes powers interact. That stuff is neat. Andre and I played a little bit together, and it was cool that he was like freezing stuff. And then it made it safer for me to jump in and use my melee stuff on them more. That's cool. But I think I like the idea of playing harder strongholds and other endgame, and then like endgame stuff with people, but treating it as a single player game to do all of the like story stuff, I guess.
Hey Sam.
Yeah.
When you played Destiny, you had a core group that like kind of joined you, right? Are they jumping into this?
Like 3 or 4, I think, of the like 20 people in our clan have said that they're coming over.
Okay.
Most of them only play Destiny, like they don't play other video games. So cool. They'll come on, they'll do their weeklies on reset day. They'll do a raid during the week if they can. and then like they might play a big release like God of War or something, but like they don't switch to other games. And a lot of them were talking about playing the Division though, Division 2. So I think that
I don't think they should play Anthem. Like, I don't think it would scratch that itch for them from what's in there right now.
Because of the loot, or because of the playing, or
well, like, I mean, you've seen it too, Sam, but like you get like one daily quest and then there's like a weekly quest, but like it just doesn't seem like that kind of game to me.
The loop isn't super satisfying for me yet. And the story isn't satisfying me either. I'm really enjoying playing the game. Yeah. Like the moment-to-moment gameplay is great when you're in the Javelin. When I'm out of the Javelin, I just want to be back in the Javelin. Mm-hmm. I think that they need to cut down massively on your Fort Tarsus time. And so, like, it's interesting because I think most people would agree with you, and I think that I could totally see them cutting back on that stuff, and that's when I'll stop playing. Because, like, I find the Fort Tarsus stuff super interesting, but I think most people will not like it because it's so slow. It just feels like it kind of breaks the game a little bit. Like in Monster Hunter, like you're never not hunting because of plot for more than like 2 minutes. But like in Anthem so far, there have been times when, like, I mean, yes, I've been talking to people optionally and I've been like reading through Cortex entries and stuff, but like I've been between missions for like 25 minutes and that's way too long. Like a lot of that stuff could be delivered maybe through like radio chatter or like cutscenes, maybe. I don't know.
They do this really annoying thing where they do this annoying thing where you like talk to someone and then like, okay, there's their conversation done. Then you like go talk to someone else. And then like the person you just talked to who's across the map has like a new conversation. You're like, I was just there. Couldn't we have dealt with this? Or like, okay, I've talked to everyone. And then like, I'm walking up the stairs to get in my Javelin to like go out on a new mission. And then this person's like, hey, can you come talk to me real quick? Like, oh.
And I've been enjoying that stuff because makes it feel kind of organic in a way. Like I never really liked the way that I shouldn't say that because I like the content of the conversations you would have with the crew, but I don't love the way that it's like, okay, did a mission, let's talk to everybody on the Normandy now and go down the checklist of who to talk to. I really like the way that with Anthem, it's like you look at the map and see these two people want to talk to you, and then you slowly walk over to them and talk to them, and then somebody else. But so, I get why people wouldn't, because it's so plotting.
What this game needs is a Kelly Chambers.
Well, it has a Kelly Chambers. She just doesn't do the thing that Kelly Chambers does. But
what this game needs is
that Zoe character is like very much a Kelly Chambers kind of role.
There's also like, so they talk about, or they were like, oh yeah, there's no relationships in this game, but like,
nope.
There's this lady. She keeps flirting with me, like very overtly. I think that they shoehorned in some romance stuff later in the game because people flipped out about it. Because I know that's Zoe, I think, is who you're talking about, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Because I feel like
it's the Kristen Shaw character.
Oh, I haven't met her yet. I feel like Zoe has been very, like, there's been flirtation happening back and forth, and then also
who the fuck is Zoe?
She's the mechanic.
She's the forge woman.
Oh yeah. It's like, I don't know. Everyone's kind of flirty with you though.
That's what I'm saying.
I got flirted with by the other freelancer, the black lady freelancer.
That's who I was going to say. Wraith. Yeah.
Sexy bad decisions.
Yep.
You probably haven't gotten that either.
No, but I think that like even and then there's also the dude that stands by the dailies and weekly stuff.
Lucky
Jack. Yeah. You can totally, like, There's a lot.
I chose a lady. Sam, you chose a guy. You chose Zac Efron or something, right?
Well, I'd also like to point out that I picked a character face who had a beard, and every time they show my character in the suit up animation, he doesn't have a beard.
I don't even
like. There's so many so many bugs in this game.
Like, I don't even know why they have
level
face anyway. You almost never see the face.
They don't let you customize it. They're like, these are the 30 faces. I hope
It
you
doesn't
don't have a face that doesn't look like this.
It doesn't matter. Anytime you're in the social spaces, you're in your javelin. So
yeah, but like in 2 years' time, when the second year of content comes out, and they're like, and now all of these non-javelin sections, I'll look like fucking like Leo DiCaprio.
I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't know. So we talked about like the
fine game. It's an 8 out of 10.
The quantity of writing is not necessarily what you'd expect from a BioWare game. Normally you expect very heavy exposition and lots of talking to people in like conversation trees and whatnot. And you have like binary options like I'm a good person or like I'm kind of a dick.
All the conversations are about.
You have Paragon and Renegade options. Yeah.
And there are some very good conversations. So Sam, you do not care for the dialogue or like the conversations writing at all, really?
I love BioWare games. Like we've talked at length about how much I love BioWare games and how I don't think that BioWare has really been a thing since the Doctors have left, but I digress. I don't think this game holds up to BioWare games at all, personally.
Okay. Pat?
I like it a lot. I don't know that I'm the best judge of what holds up to BioWare games because the last BioWare game that I really enjoyed was Dragon Age 2. So
do you enjoy the writing in it?
I do. Yes. I'm just saying, I don't think I'm not making a statement on whether or not I think it holds up.
Yeah.
I actually think Mass Effect 2 is great, but maybe a little overrated, personally. But so I'm not a very good judge of BioWare writing.
Okay.
Like, but in general, yes, I'm enjoying the dialogue quite a bit. I don't think it's like, if it's not as good as like good television.
No.
Like it's not great, but it's better than I expected and certainly better than what was presented in the demo. There's
engaging writing, like conversations and stuff. Like there's one conversation I had with Yarrow, who was like one of the only white men. There are very few white men in this game, which is also another thing. There's like an incredibly diverse cast without feeling like they went out of their way to be diverse. It's just like, oh yeah, there's a lot of like brown people, women and stuff that you're interacting with and are important to the story. But Yarrow, there's a point where he's like, oh yeah, well after this we can go to the bar. Maybe they'll have some Fortua brew. And your character's like, oh, is that your favorite? And Yarrow says, let me tell you, there's Fortua brew and then there's swill. You may say you have a different favorite drink and I will only feel sorry for you. I thought that was a very good bit of writing.
I think so far my favorite three characters are Owen, Yarrow, and Zoe. I like the three of them quite a bit.
My favorite bit so far is the like CG cutscene about the town,
the Dominion.
By the Dominion.
See,
I
really didn't like that. Like, I don't know. Something about Yarrow, even though I like Yarrow a lot as a character, his read of that was so, I just was like, okay, so the bad guys attacked the city and they did a bad thing. I get it. Like, this doesn't need to be two minutes long.
They wanted their cool, like, person with the baby.
The cutscene was awesome.
The freelancer with the child rolling around.
It was
that got me more interested in the story,
and that's great. I mean, I'm glad it's effective for people because for that actually was the thing that I was almost like, is this story just going to be bad? Because this seems like it's going to be bad. And then I did the mission where you meet the monitor, and that has me back on the actually I want to see how this goes.
I do still think the story is going to be bad.
It's totally possible. I don't want to.
I mean, you enjoy Destiny and Destiny 2, so like,
I think those stories are very good,
but they're not. They're not.
I think Forsaken is the best storytelling that Bungie has done.
Forsaken is awesome.
Maybe ever.
The stuff around Forsaken sounds awesome, but Destiny 1 is not a story.
Doesn't have a story, yeah.
Exactly. And Destiny 2 is like, it's fine.
I did only get Destiny after they fixed it by putting a real story in.
Yeah, I mean, what's the real story is still very thin, I will say, even post fix. But
let me touch you about sword logic. Okay,
that's not in the game. I'm sorry, we have to dismiss this.
The thing that
somebody mentions sword logic, it's in the game.
I think that the thing that would make Anthem more compelling over time would be if they add more javelins, but not like add more javelins like one every 6 months, which is what they might actually do. I mean, like treat it like Warframe, where there's a new Warframe like every 2 months. And they're not going to.
They've got like quarterly content updates planned, right? Like,
I don't think there'll be a javelin in each one, though.
Maybe not, but maybe, who knows? I think they need to add like some more customization options. Like, I'm level 15, almost 16, and I haven't gotten any new customization options. All I have is the stuff that's in the shops.
Well, if you'd buy some shards,
or I could I'm almost to like 61,000, which would let me buy like the Dreadnought pack for like the Titan or the Colossus. But
it does seem like there's not a lot of volume of that stuff.
And like, because they say like, oh, you'll get blueprints if you complete challenges, and I've completed a lot of challenges, and I've not gotten many blueprints. So there are two shops, at least where I'm at in the game, and you say you haven't gotten here, but and they're right next to each other. They're literally across from fucking each other. And
what?
It is a BioWare game.
Yeah. It's no romance for you, but the other characters, ooh, watch out.
Whatever.
Yeah. So there are two shops, and they're right next to each other. They sell the exact same fucking things.
Yeah, some of that stuff is weird.
But like the characters are like, oh yeah, we, our new shop, and check out our new stock and blah blah blah. And it's all the same.
There's also
it's like crafting, but it's just buying crafting items to like make weapons, which you can kind of do if you're like, what?
That's sort of the other thing that I'm finding. I love controlling the javelins, and my fears about the flight being limited are totally unfounded. That's not a problem at all. But I like everything about the kit of my javelin, except that, and the shooting is good, but the guns don't feel like they're very good. Like Destiny has the guns feel so specific. Like when you get exotics, and I know that we're nowhere near getting anything like that in Anthem anyway, but like even I would have this reaction in Destiny where it was like, well, I got to use this battle rifle for a while, and then like get a hand cannon that was a little bit better, and be excited to swap to a hand cannon because like, oh, I like that gun a lot. They feel very distinct. Whereas in this game, it just feels like the rate of fire is different. That's basically like the differences in the guns. So it's kind of funny because like I really enjoy playing it like a character action game, but I'm using my guns as little as I can because that's the least interesting part about the combat and the gameplay.
Some of the guns I thought were super interesting, I have to say, like the sniper rifle that charges and the bullets explode.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
The grenade launchers are interesting because some of them, like maybe it's all of them, like if you hit, I think they stick into the enemies. Maybe not. They do like a little bit of damage. They do like 3 damage when the grenade hits them, and then like the grenade will explode and do more damage.
I'll say I do have a shotgun that if you hold the fire button down, it tightens the spread pattern, and that is cool. It's a little frustrating because my javelin type, you want to dash a lot, and if you dash in the middle of the holding it down, it resets the spread. So you can't start charging the spread and then dash around and let it go, which is what I want to be able to do. So that could just be that's not a good fit for my class. But again, it's weird. It's not like the shooting feels bad. It's just that the guns I've encountered so far have felt it's similar to Warframe in that there's just like, I push a button and then the bullets come out. And it's far more fun to use my abilities than to use the guns.
I've been playing as a Colossus. So because I was like, this is the one that's like the most interesting and different to play as. And having the autocannon is really interesting because when you aim down sights, it starts to spin the drum up.
Yep.
So you can like fire at full rate as long as you're aiming down sights and keep that. That's cool. So it's quite interesting because obviously in a lot of like minigun style games, they like slowly speed up as you hold the right trigger down.
Yeah.
Whereas in
Team Fortress 2 did that with the secondary click, and then you spin it up, and then you walk slow and fire the gun.
I think
Yeah,
the Colossus is the next one I'm going to unlock because it looks very cool. It seems like everyone else is unlocking the Storm class.
It seems like everyone unlocks,
which is cool too. I mean, that one.
I love the Storm. But then so my second one I unlocked was the Colossus, and then I think I'll go Interceptor next, and then Ranger last. Because come on,
the Ranger looks like the least interesting.
I quite like the Ranger, I have to say. Like
I don't have a problem with the Ranger, but playing the demo and like the alpha, like I've played it and I get what it is. I'd rather play like the more interesting like specialized classes.
I'll say, did you have another thought on those? I don't want to cut you.
I think I'm gonna go Ranger, Storm, Interceptor.
I'll say I really like the classes in this feel so much more distinct to me than they do in Destiny.
100%.
And I like the way that you equip things to affect your abilities in Anthem more than in Destiny. I like that it is you're getting loot that you are applying to your javelin to get different effects, because it feels like there's a bigger possibility space there. Like it feels like I could get a totally different grenade down the road that is more than the like kind of tertiary. There's like 3 options in Destiny of what your grenades can do per class. And I like that it feels like there's more potential. And then I've already gotten like several different abilities for my secondary, which like that range from like throwing a shuriken to like sending out a ghost copy of myself to do my melee attack at things, which is super cool. So that stuff is neat how I find that loot to be much more compelling than the guns. I will say also that I do enjoy the way that they handle giving you your loot at the end, because I know some people didn't like not having the ability to swap mid-mission, but for me, it keeps me from opening my inventory, and it makes me just continue to move. And I think that is part of the fun, again, is playing it like a character action game, like just like I kill enemies, I get the next thing I need to do, and then I'm in the air flying there. And that stuff is fun.
You get so much loot.
That's the thing I'm not as crazy about, is I feel like I have a lot of garbage. And
you can just scrap it right in the loot screen too. You're like, oh, this is not good. And
like, but I also have, it's frustrating to me. I have 2 machine pistols that I can't scrap. It will not allow me to scrap them.
Yeah, I've got some things like that too. Why can't I get rid of this?
Yeah,
there's things I equipped before.
Yeah, I assume that that one of them is like the most basic weapon, and that they won't let you scrap all of your weapons. So like that's the one that they make you hold on to, so that you always have at least a gun. But I want to get rid of it, and
maybe
yeah, I don't know. There's also multiple ways to access your inventory, which is a little weird. Like you can go to the vault, or you can go to the forge. It's just 2 different menus, which is it's like better organized in the vault. So I don't understand why they didn't just use that interface.
Probably because if you're not like, you don't have to load into the vault like you do the forge. And so like, can you equip stuff from the vault? Probably not.
No.
Yeah. So like, they're different things.
The number of loading screens, my issue is alleviated because I moved it to an SSD, but holy crap. It's a lot of loading. It's a lot of loading, and I cannot imagine on console how brutal those loads are going to be.
It's actually all right on Xbox. Not as long as you were saying. So you were saying like 2-3 minutes?
Yeah.
90 seconds mostly.
That's good. That's good to hear.
Probably not as HD of textures, right?
It looked better than it did on my PC at low and at medium settings.
It's possible that just the way that it loads stuff is just a totally different process on a console than it would be on a PC hard drive. So
you have an S, right?
Yeah, I have a 1S.
Okay.
I will say I cannot. If someone asked me, I have a PS4, should I buy this game next Friday? I would probably tell them no. It is the kind of game to me that is a really good argument for EA's Origin Access Premier, because like I maintain that subscription. Currently, Anthem is the thing for me to be paying for that subscription for. I kind of got what I was going to get out of Battlefield 5 right as Anthem was coming out. I'm going to keep that subscription until I feel like I'm done with Anthem, and then I'll pick it back up when I want to play it more. But it would be a tough. I would not feel great about buying it for $60 right now. I don't think, even though I actually am more positive on it than I expected to be.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, you were able to, since you are a Premier member, you were able to get Sam and I some trials for EA Access, which able to use and try that game out for free. So thank you for that. And I don't know, like I might pay for like a month of Origin Access Premier so I can kind of see the game through and see what the end of it's like. But
as it being part of a service too, I actually see myself as being more willing to like spend $5 here or there on a cosmetic item. That feels, and like with the way that like all the DLC is free, that's just code for it would have been free to Origin Access Premier members anyway. So why not just make it free in general? You don't want to split the player base. Like EA learned that, Activision did not, and would still doing like paid DLC packs for Call of Duty and stuff. Yeah, so I don't know. I would say if you're on PC, definitely give it a look. I don't know how I feel about it yet. It's possible that I'll come back next week having played through more of the story and say this game's great, you should totally buy it. But based on what I've played so far, it seems thin and weird in certain ways that I don't know. So
in the UK, it was pretty much universally available, a load of websites for £30, which is about 2/3 of the cost of a new game. Yeah, I would 100% recommend it for that. So if places like Shop2 and Game Collection, which were doing it before, are still doing it, I think it's totally worth $32. I think you can get it. That's the equivalent of like $40 US. If you could get it for 40, then totally, that's reasonable. But
I'd be interested in hearing. Sorry, I'd be interested in hearing how the late game stuff is, because I feel like in these loot shooters, the early to mid game isn't as important to people as what happens in late game. Continue.
Oh, definitely. So it looks like the late game is bad, but I'll tell you,
unfortunate.
Maybe. Like I'm the furthest in, but I'm like halfway through the leveling progression. I'm at level 15 out of 30, and I still haven't reached the stuff that was in the demo that they put out like 2 weeks ago, which was they started you at level 10. I don't know how long this game is, or
I don't know. I assume the story is like 8 to 12 hours, somewhere in that. I know that's a big range,
maybe.
But like, something like that.
Maybe.
I feel like it's longer than
you finish at like 16, 18 range, and then they just power level you up to.
It 20. Could be longer. I'll say, as somebody who sort of tires of that early to mid game before I even see the end game, generally, if it stays as interesting from a gameplay and story perspective to me as it has so far, I'll probably stick it out to the end game.
I think the key to that is they let you use every javelin on just one character, and you can just like switch between missions. Whereas that's like cool. Destiny, you get like, I don't know, for me, I was like, I'd like to try something different, but then I'd have to start the whole game over.
The classes never really mattered to me in Destiny that much. Like, I don't think they're bad or anything, but like, they all have an ultimate where they go and shoot things a bunch. And yes, they're a little bit different, but the ultimate, throw a hammer, shoot a revolver.
Yeah. I'm all about the Stormcaller Warlock, but that's a different thing.
but I don't know. I think that the javelins generally are a little more compelling to me than the different classes in Destiny, but the guns in Destiny are more interesting to me than the guns are in Anthem so far. So I think I almost don't think there's much of a comparison there, because yes, you pick up guns that have colors on them, and there's a general number that you're increasing, but they feel so different to play that they're as similar in some ways as like Diablo and Destiny are, like they have such different verbs. I jump 10 times more in Anthem than I do in Destiny, for example, and stuff. So I don't know. It's not even to say that one is better than the other either. I think they both have strengths in different areas.
You fly infinitely more in Anthem than you do in Destiny.
Yes. I do think that this game, I really wonder if this game started development as something else. And sort
Mass Effect Andromeda 2.
No, I think that the lore is developed enough that it's clear that they've been ruminating on these ideas for a long time. So I don't think it was like another franchise game, but I wonder if it originally was not structured as a loot shooter and EA said, yo, your games have been disappointing. We need you to make a Destiny. And that
I don't even think EA would say your games have been disappointing and say, hey, you need to make something that's going to make money.
Right. Yeah. That's
over time.
Because like there is such a huge disconnect in the feel of walking around Fort Tarsis and talking to people and then the gameplay part of it. I wonder if those two things were a little bit more cohesive at a point and then diverged because they wanted to make it fit a multiplayer, like a co-op system.
I don't know that the Fort Tarsis stuff is like so robust that they couldn't have just like rebuilt it. Like
it's that's sort of less. I just mean more the. I wonder if originally, as they were concepting this game, the way it looked was you walk around Fort Tarsis and then that animation plays of you getting in your javelin and then you are suddenly out in the world. Like you take off and you're there and it's a single player role-playing game where you're flying around that space by yourself and going to
no, I get that. I'm just saying like if that was like the original intention and they had it like built as that and then were like mandated to change the game in some way, I just don't see why they wouldn't rebuild the Fort Tarsis stuff in like, you know, not completely overhaul it. I mean, they did that with they can do it. They did it with Mass Effect Andromeda. It didn't turn out great, but that, you know, do it with a smaller scale Fort Tarsis scenario and make it into something a little more like that fits with the rest of the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird beast. It just feels like it feels like the multiplayer is like a layer that doesn't need to be there to me, I guess. I don't know.
I think it works when you've got like a bunch, like when everyone's working together and actually like on hard, it makes sense. On normal, it is just like, what is happening here? It's okay. We're done.
It did at least finally stop telling me that I should be playing it with other people when I tried to launch solo games. There is a point where it stopped saying that, I guess, which is nice because I was sick of every time I launched it having to go, no, I know how I want to play the game. Please let me do it.
There was a... Oh, okay, Alex, please.
I was going to say, is there any form of PvP?
No.
Okay.
No. And they said they have no plans.
They shouldn't. I don't think they should try to make it.
I don't think it would work.
I don't think it would work at all.
I could see them putting in like a horde mode type thing.
Yeah, sure.
I imagine that'll be in one of their updates, but yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Well, if anyone have any other thoughts about games today?
If you buy the Division 2 on the Steam, not on the Steam, sorry, on the Epic Games Launcher, you get a free game. You get Ghost Recon Wildlands, Watch Dogs 2, or Far Cry Primal. Oh. Just for free. That's mental.
I feel like anyone who is going to buy the Division 2 on PC probably already owns those games, but that is cool.
I don't own any of those games.
But you wouldn't buy Division 2 on PC?
Wouldn't I? I don't own any of those games on console either.
Yeah, I just mean the audience for it on PC is more likely to have played them, I guess.
I feel like Ghost Recon Wildlands turned into something good over time, didn't it?
It's meant to be great. I played a free weekend and loved it.
I wouldn't say it's great. I would say it's totally pleasant to play. I don't know. I played a ton of it.
More pleasant or less pleasant than the Crew 2?
More pleasant than the Crew 2.
Okay.
There's also Ghost Recon Wildlands has some of the weirdest, most off-the-wall dialogue in any video game I have ever seen. Holy shit.
You know what else it had? You know what else it had? It was the fucking Predator.
Yeah, that thing was weird. That was not very good, but my friends and I did kill the Predator eventually after 4 hours of trying it, and it was fun.
It should have given you like its cloaking ability. Like you should have killed.
I mean, I got the melee ability that it has. That's pretty cool.
But you should have been able to close. I mean, it's not like it's not a PvP game, right? So if you can turn invisible, like it's not going to break the game, like whatever.
I think there is PvP in it, but it's definitely not in the open world.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. So who gives a shit?
Either way, Anthem available now, kind of.
Yeah,
kind of.
Anthem, I think, is better than Ghost Recon Wildlands.
If you are a EA Access subscriber, EA Access Basic or whatever, Origin Access Basic, right? I don't even know what it's called.
Actually,
They have like 3 different ones because the Xbox one is different from the PC one, and there's 2 versions.
Yeah.
EA Access, Origin Access Basic, and Origin Access Premier.
Yeah.
So if you have Origin Access or EA Access Basic, you can play Anthem for 10 hours on the Xbox One or the PC. If you have Origin Access Premier on the PC, you can play the Legion of Dawn edition, which has like a bunch of DLC, like skin.
It gives you some extra cosmetics. But it is kind of neat that their Premier version, the Premier Access thing, it always gives you the collector's editions.
Yeah, always the full extra bonus stuff.
Deluxe stuff. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Do you think this is the game EA needed? Like, ignoring Apex Legends, is this something that EA needed?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I think it's something that BioWare needed probably because they had to put a game out.
There's and they've put out, or like I think Michael Gamble, he's like one of like the lead producers or something on the game, has been out there saying like, here's what's going to happen for like day 1 patch. So like there's stuff that's going to change by the 22nd.
I'll say I think
22nd. It's the 22nd, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 22nd.
I think that ignoring Apex Legends, this is definitely a game that EA needed, but I think considering Apex Legends is a much more important game for them long term, I think.
It'll just depend on how the monetization stuff with Apex goes forward, and because like I don't know, I haven't the sentiment I've seen is like we talked about it earlier, like the monetization stuff is not great in Apex, and so if they fix that, then I could see it being better.
Think it's less of people not wanting to spend money on the game and more them wanting better reasons to spend money on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is the sentiment that I've seen, and I think the Battle Pass will be that thing because it'll be $10 or $15, and then I can't imagine they'll charge more than the competition for their Battle Pass.
Currently, there is you should not buy Apex packs. Like there is no reason to. Nothing in that game looks that good.
Yeah, I like some of the skins a lot, but I don't
think there are any. I don't think anything in that game is worth spending money on yet. I could understand like maybe I just want to get the characters, and
if I could directly purchase, I would say there's probably a skin per character that if I could pay $5 to get the skin, I would probably do it. But the problem is that you cannot do that. You can only spend $18 on select skins, some of which are gun skins, and there is no gun skin in any game ever made that is worth $18.
Yeah, God, the pricing of that is wild, especially for well, that is going to do it for this episode. Season 5, episode 7 of Gaming Fix on this February 17th or 16th, if you're on that side of the date line. I've been your host, Andre Cole. You can find me on Twitter at CoolSlaw. You can find the podcast on social media at Fix Podcasts on Facebook and Twitter. And you Gaming Fix on iTunes, Google Play, all podcast resources. Podcast sources. Leave us a review. We'd appreciate it. You can keep up with us on all those places. Alex, where can people find you?
Pornhub at CoolSlaw. We've been getting a lot of downvotes on Pornhub.
That sucks. Should I talk more about my Javelin's ass? Do you think that would get us some?
Probably.
Is it? So like, is this like since the last episode, or like when did the? Oh, since the last episode.
Wow.
Like, okay. Well, hey, that's engagement.
It's true. The Pornhub community is getting tired of our antics, I guess.
I mean, this is an all dudes episode. Is there a category that we could put that into?
I will put the muscly men category.
There you go.
Oh man,
I did work out today.
Pat, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at JesterPC, and that links out to everything else that I do. We're still doing YouTube stuff too. So
Pat's been playing Sunless Skies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That'll keep.
Have I missed a elusive target? I feel like I've missed an elusive target.
No, there's not been another one.
I think there was.
What?
I think there was.
They're gonna do them bi-weekly now.
I think there was like a bonus one if you have Hitman 2 or if you have Hitman 1.
Well, I missed it too if that happens. So
Everyone has Hitman 1, don't they? On Plus.
Oh no! Wait. Okay, it ends tomorrow.
oh damn it! I don't want to play Hitman.
Or it ends the 18th. It ends the 18th at 5 a.m. It's on Hokkaido.
God. Okay. I hate that map.
It's yeah.
Studio, it's fun.
Maybe
Well,
there'll be video content around that. Maybe.
Yes, maybe. I will do it maybe today. I hope it's So you have to have Hitman 1 levels Hokkaido, which oh boy, I don't have anything unlocked on that level now because it's Hitman 2. Oh well. Maybe I'll try. I don't know. Anyway, Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and most places at SGCH. You can also find my YouTube channel by searching my name. But I also think, if you type in youtube.com/user/SpiderFan2099, you get to me. Because I made that account when I was 21.
Not when you were 2099.
No, I haven't been that age yet.
And you never will. Thanks for joining us. It is. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you same place, same time next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. FBI, if you heard that, Andre just threatened my life.
The FBI can't help you. He's not even in America.
Neither are you.
And you're not a U.S. citizen anyway. The FBI only investigates the deaths of U.S. citizens.
No court in the world will convict me.
No.
No extradition. That's why Han came to Tokyo.
We're not going to have any courts here anyway.
No, because the European Union is not going to care.
Our country voluntarily removed themselves from the European Bill of Human Rights like 2 years ago. So that's fun.
Oh.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. The world's terrible.